What's the time you've heard someone speaking about something you're knowledgeable in and thought to yourself, this person has no idea what they are talking about? Well, I wouldn't describe myself as knowledgeable about this. I'm an advanced novice at best, but I've been learning Japanese for a couple of years. I have decent tourist Japanese and can read Japanese at about the level of a Japanese 7-year-old. Well, just before Christmas a new guy started at work. Total, complete, and utter weeb. He insists he's a fluent Japanese speaker, but the thing is, he totally isn't. I think he knows maybe 10 Japanese words, but every single day he's like, well, as they say in Japan. And then he'll talk absolute gibberish. Like, literally just string vaguely Japanese sounding syllables strung together. Like, well, as they say in Japan, kaichojiku no enai nakata. It's totally meaningless, and when he does use an actual Japanese, it's totally out of context. He spilled his drink once and exclaimed, "Ah, shushin wa doko desu ka?" Literal translation, "Ah, where is your hometown?" I didn't call him out on it, basically because it's just flat out hilarious. But what was really hilarious is that one of my best friends is Japanese, and she dropped by work one day to ask if I wanted to go to lunch with her, and I couldn't resist. She walked up to my desk, said hello. I responded in Japanese. We had a quick chat in my very basic, broken Japanese, and the dude looked at me like he'd just shat his pants. I noticed he was very reluctant to talk about his extensive knowledge of Japanese after that. Ever been to a car meet? I'm a mechanical engineer specializing in automotive design. I'm also a woman. I could not begin to explain all of the stupid bullshit I've been told over the years. I've had people claim to have built a turbo system that I personally built for my car. I'm an electrical engineer and overheard a guy in a model shop buying a radio-controlled car for his kid. He didn't know whether to buy the fast charger or the slow charger. The difference is that with the fast charger you get your charge quicker, but pay the price in reduced battery life. That is, it causes more damage. The bullshitting salesman managed to sell both to him with an assurance that the fast charger will make the car run for 5 minutes, but the slow charger will make it run for half an hour. When did you see a pint bottle that could hold a gallon if you dribbled the water in slowly? I'm a teacher, and once whilst observing another teacher's lesson it became painfully clear that they did not have a clue what they were talking about. Luckily, I guess, I shared the class with him, so in my next lesson I just taught it properly. Misconceptions about what computer programming can do are rampant. Since technology has become such an integral part of everything, people tend to spew nonsense about it. It used to kind of bug me, but there's nothing practical to be done, really. Might as well enjoy the notion that coding is magic and play along. Last year I saw a couple of articles about an eating disorder called AskReddit, which isn't that well known. Everyone in the comments sections were suddenly experts on this thing they'd never even heard of, saying that it's people's own fault for having this disorder, or that it's not a real thing. There were a lot of /wow thanks I'm cured moments too. Some people have no sympathy at all and can't even be bothered researching something for 2 minutes to find out that it's actually a serious thing. My job is technical and all the managers aren't, but every so often they'll try to explain something during a meeting that I have painstakingly explained to them, and they'll fail miserably. I won't ever correct them unless their mistake would have any bearing whatsoever, which it won't normally. Tourists who have most likely never fished telling me, a long-time fisherman, how to fish. Example. Random lady, I think you're using the wrong bait. I'm not using bait, I'm using a lure. B. How would you know what type of fish I'm even targeting? A freshman English major giving his thoughts on the philosophical significance of quantum mechanics and how his understanding of it was sufficient to argue with science majors who just crunched the numbers. And there I was with my eigenvectors and wave functions. I'm American, but I lived in Africa for years. It's always interesting to begin conversations with people who think they know everything but they just sound stupid. One of my favorites is, did they speak African there? No, contrary to popular opinion, African is not a language. Oh, so they spoke English? No, English is not the only dang language. I'm in the process of buying a house, So I'm following the inspector around. I'm paying $450 for the inspection. I'm gonna make sure this guy does the job. And he starts mansplaining to me what a good solder joint looks like on these copper pipes. He explains several reasons why they are good solder joints before I stop him. I teach soldering, among other manufacture skills. He has no clue. He thinks he knows what he's looking at, but he doesn't understand the science behind it. He tried the same thing with some wire bundles. I teach cabling too. He didn't have a very good day. I feel like I got my money's worth. COVID conspiracy theorists talking about polymerase chain reaction. COVID conspiracy theorists talking about anything related to molecular biology. Anti-GMO people talking about moss causing cancer. And no, most of them don't differentiate between glyphosate the pesticide or glyphosate resistant plants. Most health related, woo tbh, because it's generally so ignorant of basic science. It's usually pop culture stuff. When I worked retail, the Cheers theme song was on our rotation. The amount of times I heard this conversation: person 1, oh hh, I know this song. Isn't it on a TV show? Person 2, it's the Friends theme song. Person 1, yay. That's it. While I die inside. I work in industrial safety, liaise with OSHA, and I'm a certified level 3 trainer on 7 classifications of powered industrial vehicles. 25 years. I love it when managers at plants and construction sites try to tell me, make up OSHA rules. They think the little lady couldn't possibly know what she's talking about. Until I shut them down for violations. Their faces are priceless. Oh, I have a perfect example. One of my family members was going on and on about this new radiation shield sticker they got for their phone. Like, what? You know nothing about phones and radiation clearly. It was a circular sticker that covered about 10% of the phone's back that said radiation shield around the edge of the sticker in an intimidating font. They paid $10 for it. I suppose when people talk about auto-tune, they'll say things like I hate Billie Eilish or something. All their songs are just auto-tuned garbage. There are so many things wrong with that. Firstly, a singer's ability is not only quantified by their ability to sing on pitch. As a matter of fact, there are a lot of famous records with some seriously off-pitch singing. Secondly, auto-tune isn't just a make good sing button. It's typically for minor adjustments, to bring the pitch from mostly there to perfect. The difference between a track, when auto-tune is turned on vs off, can often be imperceptible. Thirdly, basically every single artist uses it these days. It's an industry standard. I overheard one of my friends talking about how the recently launched Starlink satellites causes cancer. I casually walked over and gave them a whole scientific breakdown of what Starlink is, what they do, the goal of the mission, and why there is no way in hell they could cause any kind of cancer. I really hope I got through to him. We were watching a Chinese movie in history class, and this kid was like, oh, I speak Chinese. I'm fluent, and so the class asked him to translate a few sentences and he could. Turns out he was looking at the subtitles. So I asked him, do you really speak Chinese? But in Chinese BC I speak Chinese, and all he said was ching chang. Every time I'm on Reddit and see anyone talking about the US economy, PPP loans, the stock market, or tax law, as a CPA you should just never listen to anything anyone has to say about any of the stuff I listed on Reddit. Almost every comment I see is ridiculously wrong, and they are just making shit up, so it can fit the Reddit hive mind's narrative. I mean, damn, some of the stuff I see people spout off on here that gets thousands of upvotes is ridiculous. This one dude my friend knows is so wrong about so many things I can only tolerate him in small doses. He probably doesn't realize my degrees and fields of study specifically focus on the stuff he knows. The few times I've called him out in it he gets angry, loud, and tells me how he's read this super obscure source that's in another language. Based on the number of times he's claimed this, he can read at least 7 different languages, though he has taken no classes, training, etc. When I've asked him for sources he says he doesn't have access to them right now and can't provide a name for them. I've just given up trying to reason with him and just avoid him at all costs. Weeaboos talking about Japan. Literally anything they say. I lived in Japan for a little over 3 years and I know for a fact, 10 times over, that they would be made fun of over there. Their behavior is cringe as hell and makes me embarrassed on their behalf as they have no shame for themselves. I'm an astrophysicist. My subfield for about 5 years was gravitational physics, especially with black holes. I'm also a woman. Some men seem to mistake their testicles for degrees in STEM. This includes one friend who gave me his detailed idea about a gun that could shoot black holes which would swallow up adversaries and then immediately evaporate. After I explained why that wouldn't work, he said, "I'd probably be a pretty good astrophysicist because I think about this kind of thing." Oh geez, this one is easy. People talking about chemical and sensory components of wine, but more like regurgitating BS they heard somewhere. Source: I have a university degree in winemaking, own a winery in California, and have been making wine professionally for 25 years. Okay, so I teach kids who don't fit into mainstream school. Most of the time it's a one-to-one session, but have occasionally been involved in a group lesson. My role in these lessons is to assist, and it's frowned upon to take lead in said lessons, as it would throw the lead teacher off. A dude was teaching music and set me down to record the instrument I was playing and said play something over the track for a second. I have been playing in live and studio situations for about 12 years and have a degree in music tech, so I know how it goes, but I thought he was just setting the levels. He started the track, and when the relevant section came up, all noise cut out, but I played regardless. I said okay, yeah, sounds good, can we run it with the track? And then he did. Same thing cropped up, no music and not even a click. I just played purely by memory of what the chord progression and timing was. He said cool, sounds great. And I was kind of confused because he basically put me in blind. I asked to listen back and then told him I couldn't hear the track when I was playing, and he just said yeah, that's okay man, that's how we all do it. Before that point, he told the kid I may not be the best teacher, but I'm a good musician. I think both of those points are debatable. I didn't say anything because I figured it would throw him off. The thing I recorded was quite sloppy for obvious reasons, but I figured I didn't have anything to prove to this kid, and any mistakes would have just reflected worse on the lead teacher. I'm in the mental health field, and yeah, a whole lot of people have opinions on mental health that are vaguely related to reality at best. The subfield of addiction is even worse, because in the US the government actively ignores the science behind it, and encourages others to too. Old guns, or just guns in general. And I don't mean anti-gun people. People who own guns, but don't bother to educate themselves about them. Just because you own a gun, doesn't make you a gun guy, just like owning a car doesn't make you a car guy. Roller coasters at amusement parks. People think the weirdest things about roller coasters. No, you're not going to fall off. No, it's not going to fly off the tracks. No, the trains can't collide with each other. No, your restraint can't just come open during the ride. Unless you are extremely overweight, extremely tall, too short, or have a pre-existing condition such as back, heart, or neck problems, this ride is perfectly safe. Lots of quit your BS moments too. No, nobody died on this ride. Out of all of the 600 plus roller coasters currently operating in North America, maybe 15 have killed somebody in the last 40 years. There's a reason when talking about these things we call each specific one the Raptor incident or the Mindbender accident. No single ride ever experiences 2 deadly accidents. In fact, most of these rides are still standing. The ones that are removed usually had other issues that went beyond whatever caused the accident. See, Son of Beast. The vast majority of amusement parks and amusement park chains take safety extremely seriously, especially Disney, Universal, and Cedar Fair. Six Flags can vary, but their large and mid-sized parks are very well run as well. Whenever a serious issue occurs, it doesn't even have to kill someone, an investigation is launched, and in the case of a mechanical failure all rides of that type are shut down and inspected for similar issues. There is an annual safety conference attended by all ride manufacturers, where standards are updated and improved. It is in every company's best interest that their rides are as safe as possible. A lot of people trick themselves into thinking that riding a roller coaster is somehow risky. I know, it's more scary that way, but hear me out. The fun of a roller coaster doesn't come from being scared. It comes from the adrenaline rush. whipping through tight turns and steep drops, going from 0 to 120 miles per hour in 4 seconds, and then ascending 400 feet into the air and looking down on the entire park before plummeting back down. Even if you know you will be okay, nobody can do that without getting an adrenaline rush. It comes from experiencing things you never could in day-to-day life. The only other vehicle that can pull negative G-forces are airplanes. Without riding a roller coaster, you will never feel what it's like to be subjected to 2, 3, or even 4 times the force of gravity. Even if you booked a flight on one of SpaceX's rockets, you still won't be accelerating as fast as many roller coasters. You are open and exposed on a roller coaster in a way unlike any other vehicle. You can watch scenery fly by, not quite close enough to touch. That's where the fun comes from. Roller coasters don't stop being fun after you stop being afraid of them. If anything, they become more fun. You can stop worrying and just enjoy the ride. That's my rant. If you want to learn about some of the basic safety mechanisms, find CoasterBut's videos about roller coaster safety. If you want to learn more in depth about specific accidents, look up GP2 Enthusiast on YouTube. He does a good job covering why incidents occurred, how they could have been prevented, and how the industry changed as a result. P.S. The most dangerous thing at an amusement park is the sun. Stay hydrated and wear sunscreen. Far more people get a ride in the cute little amusement park ambulance because they got heat sickness than any other